Well, it says we're live. Hello, hello. It's Tuesday, 4 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock here in Costa Rica, 7 o'clock on the East Coast, midnight in Dublin, 1 a.m. in London and most of Europe, 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. Wednesday morning in Australia. I think it's 11:30 a.m. Wednesday morning in New Zealand, and I don't know what time it is in the Philippines. Someone from the Philippines, please tell us what time it is. And it's Facebook Live. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. And I'm really excited today to have my friend Jodi Cohen on. Hi, Jodi.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my goodness, yes. And Jodi's story is really a impactful one. And as a result of her life and some really wearing down things that happened in life, Jodi, you know, she just found out, how do you get resilience? How do you rebound? How do you come back stronger than ever and make an impact in the world with whatever your passion is? And so Jodi has put together the Resilience Summit. Is that right, Jodi?
Resilience Roadmap Summit, yes.
Resilience Roadmap Summit. Right. And I think that's a critically important concept that we all have discovered, that our current health is not where we want it to be because of things that happened to us earlier in life. Whether it was too many ding-dongs and ho-hos and Coca-Cola, lack of exercise, emotional trauma, grow up in a bad family environment, whatever it should be. But we finally realized, whoa, I need a change here. I need a change. And I think that's the primary motivation for most everyone that comes into learning more about their health is, I need a change. And so Jodi has put together what she refers to as the roadmap to resilience and rebounding. So Jodi, can you tell us a little more about the theme and what your ideas were when you started putting this together?
Yeah, I mean, so my 12-year-old son Max was killed in a car accident on August 27th, 2018. And I had a surviving daughter. And, everyone tries to be supportive and no one knows the right thing to say. But some people said to her, your mom's never going to be the same. And she was 14 at the time and her dad was the driver. And she basically crawled into bed with me that night and said, you really can't fall apart because you're all I have and I need you. And, we have our children to support them and to show up for them. So I thought, okay, I get that. I need to figure this out. But I didn't really, the grief model, like the best you could achieve was acceptance. And I was like, that's really not good enough. Like I need to find a way to not only, just survive and show up every day, but really find a way to pave the road for her to have a fantastic life, to have the life she deserves. And so because I'm a researcher, and it's easy for me to dig into that, I really started to unpack, what does this require? Most people think of resilience as being tenacity, grit. I ran marathons. It's easy to, muscle through things, but that's really not all that's involved, because there are other components. You kind of need a vision, which is hope. You need to have an idea of what you want your life to be. And you need to be able to see role models, people in our community, like JJ Virgin, whose son, survived, thankfully, a devastating car accident, Anna Quebecia, who lost a child. I needed to know that there were people who had been through things like this, who had made it through, and who had found a way to kind of take that pain into a purpose and help other people. And I discovered some things that surprised me. Some things were, once I knew how to do it, it was much easier than I anticipated. And it occurred to me that it would have been nice. I wish someone had packaged this for me. I wish I had had more of a roadmap of what helps you, when unexpected things happen. And most people, thankfully, are not going to have a tragedy on the level of my tragedy. But, loss can be losing a parent, losing a pet, losing, tearing your meniscus and not being able to do things you love, like run and ski. There are lots of losses. And so when you bump into that, I just want to empower people with tools and strategies that they're like, oh, I can get through this easier.
So That's profound. And you went through it pretty quickly.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. But you know, your first sentence was, people went, what? What?
Yeah.
And so you had a devastating loss in your family, a devastating loss.
Yeah.
And because of your daughter climbing into bed with you and saying, you can't fall apart. I need you. You're all I've got. That my son's having a little bit of an episode here. Let me just close the door.
It's okay. My dogs are barking too. It's a party.
Marcy will bring him in a minute to say hello. But what you started looking for is how do I do this? And there was no roadmap. And you're a researcher. You're a geek like me. You like to read the science, and you couldn't find anything on this one. Here comes our visitor. So we're going to take time out here to say hello. And Marcy's going to find Facebook for me on there. Come here, you. Look.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Look at those eyes. Oh, hello. He's so big.
Hi, Jodi. Hi, Jodi.
Oh my gosh. Does he have teeth?
He has 6.
Wow.
6, yes. Yes. And this is a difficult day. It's a tooth day, we think. And so he hasn't been as happy as he usually is, but he's still great. Yeah, but now he's, oh, yeah. And his first words, they came out yesterday. His first word, gecko.
Only in Costa Rica. That's awesome.
Gecko, right. And he makes the gecko click. Right?
Oh, let's hear your gecko click.
Go.
Oh my goodness. That's so funny.
My
My daughter's was ball. She was very athletic.
Oh.
Yeah.
How sweet. How great. So he's captivated by the screen, and whenever Dad's working and sees who's on screen with me. Yeah, that's Jodi. That's Jodi, and there's lots of people out there.
Oh my God, he's delicious.
Okay, yeah, he's tired. This is his bedtime.
Oh.
Lynn Trock says he's getting so big. He is, Lynn. He really is. And Kelly says, such a cutie. Thank you, guys. I'm going to scroll back to the top to acknowledge who got here first today. I was trying to do that. And it's Cindy in Pennsylvania. All right, Maggie's here. How's your sister? Oh, Maggie, she's really in great shape. Thanks so much. Laura's here from Grants Pass, Oregon. Laura's part of our team. Oh, there's yours. There's your current baby, right?
Well, I have 2. I have 2 puppies. And yeah, this is my older one. I think my younger one is a little bit much for him sometimes. Yeah. Want to say hi?
Yes. Doggy.
Oops.
Jodi, can you bring the dog back up? Gio gets excited. Jodi, can you bring the dog back up?
Yeah, this is Simba, like from The Lion King.
Look at
Gio, do you like puppies? This is Simba.
Yes.
Yeah, he's very fluffy.
Yeah. He barks to the puppy. Yes.
Oh, he's not a gecko.
He's not a gecko.
He likes squirrels. He would probably chase a gecko.
Yes. Kelly's here from Indiana. Lucia's here. Thanks, Lucia, for what you said. And Kelly says he's a cutie. Sue her harness says, hi, Jodi. My nephew passed in 2014 after a fatal shark accident.
Oh, Jesus, I'm so sorry.
It took me a while, but like you, my salvation was finding my purpose. Like you, my salvation was finding my purpose and re-engaging with my love and joy. Thank you for caring.
Yeah, of course.
Philomena's here. Hi, Philomena. Philomena and I were on stage together in Lisbon about 4 weeks ago. We had a lovely dinner afterwards, and it's nice to see you're here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Kat's here from Kentucky. Jillian's here from Cleveland, and the list goes on. Chris Lennis is watching. Chris, are you the Lennis family out of Dearborn, Michigan? If so, you're my cousins. And the list goes on and on. So let's start Jodi, tell me, what did you think of when you first came up with this idea of the resilience roadmap? When you said, I've got to do this, how
You
did
know,
you begin the process?
because you know what it was? We're part of a community of health practitioners called Mindshare, and somebody posted in Mindshare because one of their clients had gone through a similar loss, and they tagged me, and it was like the accident had happened that day, and people are saying things like, do all these therapies. That this was like a year out, and I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't even consider that, the first day. And it occurred to me, people are really well-meaning and they're really kind, but there's a pacing in it because you're in shock early on, right? If you can eat, sleep, and move, like give yourself a gold star, like that's all you can kind of handle. And as I started to kind of think through a response, I realized, and I put the response up and people were like, oh my goodness, this is so helpful. I didn't know this. And so I realized that it would be of service, to share more, because I think one of the challenges, like I'm so grateful that one of your listeners shared her loss. I think in our society, we've kind of been taught, to be tough and be strong and muscle through and keep a stiff upper lip and not talk about it. And so there's a bit of a shame component with grief and loss, and we internalize it, which really, emotions are energetic. They're supposed to move through us, and by holding on to it.
Could we stop there? There's so many critically important points you're bringing up, but you said one, there's so much shame involved. Can you elaborate on that before we go further, so
Yeah,
you'll validate people for where they are right now in this process?
absolutely. Thank you. So the backstory is we were actually in Peru, hiking to Machu Picchu for my 50th birthday. On August 26th, we flew home. My 12-year-old son, Max, we didn't have great Wi-Fi in Peru. For anyone who has a 12-year-old might recognize that wasn't something I anticipated, but was slightly problematic. So we got home and my 12-year-old couldn't wait to see his friends. So we took them out that night, and the next day they planned this road trip that didn't end well. But because we had been out of town for a week and my daughter was about to start high school, even though her brother died, there were certain things that we needed to do. We needed to go buy her notebooks and pencils and school supplies. She had shattered her phone when we were in Peru, so we needed to go fix that. So anyway.
Critically important for a young girl, right?
Yes.
Gotta get the phone.
We did typical things that typical families do before the start of school. And I think I snapped a picture because at one point something was funny, and I put that funny picture on Facebook, and someone felt the need to tell me that wasn't appropriate for a mourning parent, that I wasn't allowed to show any sign of happiness. And I wasn't sleeping so well early on, and I didn't really know what to do. So that I was so angry, I guess is the best word, that someone would have the nerve to say that to me, that I went on Facebook and did a Facebook Live and basically said, if you are going to criticize me for having moments of joy, then I would like you to unfriend me right now, because I can't set myself on fire to keep you warm. And you're not my priority right now. So we can amicably part ways. And I felt so much better after I kind of stood up for myself and just said, you know what, I think as women of a certain age, we spend our lives, we're really clued into what other people want from us. We're really good at pleasing other people, and we're always last on our own to-do list. And that, I don't know that was ever a great idea for me, but I could kind of manage that when everything was fine. When I had no energy for my own needs, I could not prioritize other people. And so I drew a really clear line in the sand. And the amount of pushback, people were mortified. They were shocked, how dare I? It's almost like I had broken this taboo that I never really thought about prior to that. But it just was really clear to me that, it's like they say, if you're in lifeguard training, you save them unless they're trying to drown you, and then you save yourself. And I realized if I had to make everyone else happy right now, I was going to drown. So I had to pick me.
Way to go. Way to go. And that's such a critically important concept. I'm going to use an example that just happened yesterday. That's a different version of taking care of yourself and acknowledging yourself and protecting yourself. Although in this case, this is my wife and it wasn't a protection thing, but she ordered a necklace for herself from our friends in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's a wonderful jewelry store called Abracadabra. And if you look at their stuff online, your jaw drops. And what she did was she wrote Mama. I mean, she's so proud to be a mother and feels so fulfilled in being a mother. She wrote this out and sent it to them, and they did a necklace, Mama, in her handwriting. And she posted it today, I think in Instagram somewhere. And she said, you know, I ordered a necklace for myself just to acknowledge for me how proud I am to be a mother and how fulfilled I feel in being a mother. And I thought, how great that she did this on her own. She asked me, can I order a necklace from Abracadabra? I said, of course. Tell Stephen I said hello. We spent many, many years together in Ann Arbor. And it's beautiful. It's just a spectacular thing. But the point is doing something to acknowledge yourself, that for what you're doing your best in life. And when you feel fulfilled, give yourself a high five, however you do that. So your lifeguard analogy is a really good one. You know, you save people from drowning unless they're trying to drown you, and then you save yourself, you know, but you have to acknowledge yourself. So I just wanted to do that part, that shame part, so that people would understand what that dynamic was. Can you go back and continue now with where
Oh, of
we're
course.
going?
I'd love to see her necklace. That's wonderful. That's exciting.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, she's putting Geo down now. So
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it just, I guess, you know, so much of, I really spent my life, you know, I figured out really early, like, you know, you get good grades, then you get to go to good schools, then you get good jobs, then you get married, then you have kids, then you live happily ever after. So I followed the roadmap, but it didn't really pan out the way, you know, it's funny, the Disney movies all end at the wedding, right? Happily ever after kind of, we were happily ever after until we weren't. And then there was no roadmap. And so in my mind, this is not, you know, the end of my story. I don't just, curl up in a ball on my floor and cry for the rest of my life. I have to find something to do. But I think there's this discomfort. People don't really know what to do with their own pain. And so when they see you maybe moving through it, it makes them uncomfortable. And so it's this weird thing of people kind of not knowing how to react to you, and then also almost like not rooting for you, like a little bit of Schadenfreude. It was really surprising, and I didn't really know what to do with it. And in the past, I think I had prioritized, you know, kind of being a good girl, making nice, all these things. And I realized that wasn't going to work anymore. So it was this strange experience of, you know, what gets you from A to B is not what's going to get you from C to D. And so instead of making assumptions or going into default mode, I just kind of got really curious. And I learned, I'm very obsessed with the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system and the vagus nerve. And thankfully, prior to the accident, I have a lot of strategies to activate the nervous system, which is what I call calm, which is my way.
May I pause you there so people understand? We have two basic nervous systems. They're completely different. Yes. The parasympathetic is the one that's supposed to run 95 to 98% of the time. The nerves are really big nerves. They've got lots of insulation around them so that you can run the current through all day. The sympathetic nerves are the fight, flight, or fright. And they're the ones that are only supposed to run 2 to 3% of the time, where you're fighting to save your life. In our society today, we're stressed all the time. So we're using our sympathetic nervous system and we burn out those nerves. And so many people have used the language in one form or another. I feel burnt out. Well, you are burnt out, right? Because you have been in sympathetic nerve dominance for many years now, and you burned it out. And we have to teach you how to get back to parasympathetic dominance and to rebuild that nervous system. So that's what Jodi's referring to here. It's a completely different strategy. And
Yeah.
what have you learned, and how did you become successful in that?
You know, it was baptism by fire. So the story continues. So my son Max and 3 of his friends were being driven by his dad to the eastern side of the state. They were going to go whitewater rafting. There was a car accident on the way. None of the boys were wearing the seatbelts. They were all thrown from the car. My son Max died immediately. 2 of the other boys also passed away in the months after the accident. And his dad, my ex-husband, was there was the threat of some really crazy lawsuits. At the same time, my father, who'd been in reasonably good health, fell and broke his hip and went on kind of a steep and sudden decline. So my dad wound up in hospice. I was sitting with him, and this personal injury attorney calls and is basically threatening, like, you know, you have to act right now or you're going to lose everything. You won't even be able to send your daughter to college. You'll have no house. Horrible, horrible, horrible projections. And I had this moment of utter clarity. Is like, you have to hire me right now. You have to do this. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm so flooded. I can't do anything. Like, here's my dad. Here's you yelling at me. So I hung up on him. I left the phone in the room with my dad, and I went outside. And I mean, I was like, this is what a heart attack must feel like. Like, I literally thought like my heart was going to explode out of my chest. I'm like, I have to calm down. Like, I can't even think, you know, it was the craziest thing. There was no clarity, no options. And so I just, I've always been a runner. So I knew the distance from my house to everywhere. So I'm like, I'm going to go on a 5-mile walk. I'm just going to walk and I'm going to calm down. And I use an essential oil blend. Basically, the secret to gear shifting from sympathetic fight or flight to parasympathetic rest and digest is stimulating, not sedating, your vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body, connects the brain and the gut, starts at the base of the head. Dr. Tom is brilliant on this, but it's really accessible here. So you can use a stimulatory oil here. You can do box breathing, cold plunges. There are lots of ways to activate it. But I happened to not leave home without this oil. So I was slathering it all over myself and walking. And by the time I got back, I was like, okay, this is actually interesting. Like, what he was telling me doesn't really make sense. I need more information. I don't even know about this.
May I just say, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but these are such precious pearls that in the midst of the chaos, you couldn't even think. You had been using essential oils for purposes in the past, so you knew just to grab one.
Yep.
And then go for your walk. So
yeah,
it took courage to go for a walk.
Yeah.
And it took I'm not sure how to categorize it, but it took something to grab the oil.
Well, I always have it in my pocket, but this is the point of the Resilience Roadmap Summit. I just want to empower people with tools so that they know, you know, like, oh my God, I can't make a decision now. Like I'm 52. So a lot of my friends, you know, they'll go and get a mammogram and they're like, I have pre-cancer. I have to have surgery tomorrow. And I'm like, pause, you know, You do not need to make a decision right now. Like, let's calm you down and then let's play out the options. And then you can decide. It doesn't need to be, you know, you're not with your back against the wall in fight or flight. So yes.
Marvelous, really, really marvelous. So one of the takeaways I hope everyone's getting is that she had set herself up earlier to be working on the parasympathetic sympathetic. And Jodi, you've got information on your website about that, don't you? About parasympathetic sympathetics and
yeah. I can actually Anne can probably post something in the chat
great.
or I can send stuff. Yeah.
Great. Oh, there it is. It's posted already.
Isn't she amazing?
Oil affiliate. Yes, it's there. So the oil there's the link for the oil. Lots of people are commenting now, like, way to go. Grief reminds me of a book my kids have had. We're going on a bear hunt. You can't go over it. You can't go under it.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
You have to go through it, but it's a little bit like drinking from a fire hose. So you have to find a way, you know, you can't necessarily take it all in at once. And so there are some ways to make it more manageable.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the roadmap that you've put together. So tell us about some of your guests and who you invited to be in this roadmap.
So we have Dr. Peter Levine, who wrote the book Taming the Tiger, who is the trauma expert. He's really amazing. And he does an amazing job of talking about, you mentioned fight, flight, freeze. So sometimes when we don't know what to do, or when pain is so intense, we do nothing, we get stuck. Right. And, as you know, stagnation in the body results in illness, stagnation, even energetically. So he really talks about how you can unravel that, start to move forward. You do a great job. I loved your talk, and you kind of disclose like why, I won't give away, I won't spoil alert it, but definitely tune in for Tom's talk, because he talks about really why, what you see as the root cause of illness, which is amazing. Dave Asprey, his talk is very efficient. He really talks about resilience as being energy for the body and his best ways to enhance energy. And one of the things that he said that I really love, because cold plunges, I'm always cold. I've got my thyroid stuff going on, but he was saying what you're doing with the freezing water is you're retraining your cells to make energy faster and warm you up faster. So that's why, so a lot of deconstructing that. David Jockers did a really awesome job talking about keto and how, again, that resets the brain. Basically, all of these strategies for resilience are about improving your mental, physical, and emotional energy so that you have more bandwidth, more muscle to, deal with life's bumps. And then it's also things like we have Marcy Shimoff, who has some really great strategies. There's this idea, your reticular activating system, what you see is pretty much what you look for. So optimism and hope are very helpful when something hard happens. It could be a downward spiral if the world starts looking like dark and scary all the time. So you have to find ways to actually proactively look for positive things. So Marcy has this idea where you give out 5 Academy Awards a day. So it could be like cutest baby, which goes to your child, cutest puppy, funniest thing you saw that day, prettiest flower. It can be anything, and you can be creative with it. Best conversation, but the more you look for the positive, the more that's what shows up. And so if you keep looking for the positive, then even on the darkest hour of your darkest day, you might see a beautiful sunrise kind of thing.
The names that you've put out and the topics they bring up sound so valuable. These are best of class people who really have dialed down their areas of expertise. And we all can use more resilience, especially with what we're going through now. We'll post a link in here if it's not already posted for this event. So everyone, please register for this event. You may watch 3 interviews, you may watch 15,
Yeah.
Whatever your time will allow, but the ones you watch will be the ones that will likely have an impact on how you think for the rest of your life. And I've seen this time and time again when we have such world-class experts on these types of events. And it's not possible for most of us to watch every interview at the time that they're aired, but if you find that this resonates for you, you might buy the thing and watch it whenever you want. It might be $97 or whatever the price is. And
69 bargain.
Good, yeah. And if you listen to one interview and you learned about parasympathetic blend oil, which you've already learned about, I hope everyone's going to order it now. But if you learn,
it makes a good holiday gift.
Oh, good point. Good point.
Yeah.
And if you learn that, and when you put a couple drops of oil behind your ear here, just under that bone, and you notice over the course of the next couple of weeks that things aren't bothering you quite the way they used to, you're not getting as reactivated, as keyed up. Oh, that oil really works. So is it worth $59, to learn about that, right? And so that's the kind of value that you get. I remember I used to think if I can't watch all of the interviews, I'm not gonna waste my time. That's the way I thought about it. But the
Yeah.
influence that I would watch, actually, wow, that was really good. And I find myself thinking about that for weeks afterwards, and maybe it implements into part of the long-term game plan. I mean,
Yeah.
so the reason that I bring on people like Jodi, because their events are so game-changing for
Oh.
people. Uh, when someone like Jodi goes through what she's gone through and is leading the way, and it's giving us a roadmap for how we may go through this, or some of your family members may really benefit from reaching out and saying, hey, how about if you watch this thing with me? How about if you register for this and let's watch it together and talk about it? If there's been a loss or some grieving in your family, I can think of so many reasons why it's of value to share this
Oh,
with others.
thank you. Yeah, it's funny. David Perlmutter had the best line. He was talking about his second book, Brainwash, they wrote because it's really hard to get people to comply with diet. He's like, you can't start with diet if people don't have resilience. It's too much. And I was like, that's really interesting,
Yeah, that really is. And he's absolutely right. Jill said, so much harder to grieve these days with so many reminders from social media and texting capability. My brother died 35 years ago, and grieving was hard enough in those non-internet days. No judgment from others because it was a more private grieving. On the other hand, there's more support, more ways to connect with people at this time. You're amazing, Jodi. So inspiring to be listening to you today.
Oh, that's so kind. I know I mean, I think about, well, you have a baby that's going to be growing up in this crazy world. My teenager, back when we were in high school, if you weren't invited to hang out, you didn't know everyone was hanging out without you. Now you can look on social media and see them all together. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a very different world today.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of world our babies are inheriting right now.
Well, hopefully one that we're making better for them.
Amen to that. Dwin asked the question, can you recommend an oil or oils for skin cancer?
Oh, well, first of all, I'm sorry. The one that everyone recommends is frankincense. It's really good. If you think about like where oils come from, frankincense is a resin, so it's kind of like the Band-Aid for the tree. So that can be really helpful. I would also obviously follow Dr. Tom's protocol for the gut, because whatever's happening in your gut is going to be reflected in your skin.
Maggie asks, do you believe in lasering of the vagus? I've tried this twice now, but don't feel any differently.
I think it depends. Lasers are complicated because there's a vast variety of quality. There's like the Weber medical laser that's unbelievable, that has different colors, and then there are the ones you can get for under $100. So I don't know that I think there's a one size fits all. There's a Visium laser. They're actually one of the sponsors of the summit. That's $2,000, and that one I can tell works, but I would tend to agree with you. It's a little bit like, trying to think of a good example. Coffee. I'm a coffee addict, and not everyone has great coffee. Not all lasers are created equal. That's one reason. I mean, I think Tom has a good offer on parasympathetic. Try the blend. It's clove and lime. It's very stimulatory. If you don't feel it, we have a great return policy. So,
That's great.
lasers can work, but not for everyone, maybe.
Ray Guerrero says, hey, Jodi Sternoff Cohen.
Hey, Ray.
Let's see. Amal says, love your parasympathetic blend too. So many in sympathetic dominance mode and low cellular potassium. That's very true.
Yeah.
Let's see. Dwayne Key says, hi, love your book, Jodi.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet.
Yes.
Well,
and look, there you go. That's the book, Essential Oils to Boost the Brain and Heal the Body. There are so many benefits to essential oils, especially in this time we're dealing with now, where your immune system function is so critical. The more you are in parasympathetic dominance, the stronger your immune system gets.
Yes.
The more you are stressed out in sympathetic dominance, the more your immune system is fighting to protect you, and the weaker it gets. It's like you're draining the bank account. You're draining it constantly until you're overdrawn. And when you're
Yes.
overdrawn, then you get sick. That's so very common to see. Brandy says the parasympathetic summit is amazing with tons of information.
Oh, thank you.
Maggie,
Tom was on that too.
yes, it was a great event. Sue Harness says, from my eulogy that I wrote for nephew, Jay's eulogy, when the sun rises and sets over the ocean at night, it shines its light. You are never truly gone, for you are everywhere. That is, you are everywhere that is beautiful.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Thank you.
Dwin wrote, my mom died last year during all this. She had Alzheimer's and had to die alone, scared and not understanding why I wasn't there.
That is what breaks my heart more than anything. All of, yeah, I'm so sorry.
I don't think I'll ever get over this grief. You're not supposed to get over the grief. It's part of who you are. You know, it's just, but you integrate. And
it's like learning to live with chronic pain. Yeah. It's still there, and it's yes, and you still feel the grief, and you can also have fun and laugh, and you can also, you know, you're not well, the whole idea, what's interesting, the definition of resilience is technically bouncing back, but you can't, when you lose someone, you can't go back to that. I can't go back to being Max's mother because Max isn't here, but I can bounce forward. So I'm still Carly's mother, and I can write a book and do these other things. So it's not the end, it's, you know, the next chapter. So it's complicated, and time does not heal all wounds. It just changes things.
Amen. Todd says, hey, Dr. Tom, how is your friend doing that was ill last? Oh, thank you. Yeah, he was a little out of it, refused to go to the hospital. I demanded that he go to the hospital, and I called a couple of his friends so that they would also demand that he go to the, so he went to the hospital, and they admitted him immediately, and he almost died.
Oh dear.
He came through and was discharged yesterday. So thanks for asking, Todd. He's going to be okay now. He's on oxygen at home, but he will be okay. Lynn said, Dr. Tom and Jodi, you both have the best way of explaining everything. Oh, thank you, Lynn. That's very kind of you.
Thank you.
So, Jodi, what would you say for someone who doesn't have a loss that's in the front of their awareness right now? How would this resilience event be of benefit for them?
I think because, you know, no one escapes, sadly, but it's really about teaching your kids fortitude. And I think in a very weird way, we're having kind of a global loss. You know, the world that existed in 2019 doesn't exist anymore. And so I think, I mean, when it comes down to it, what the factors of resilience are like vision. You know, knowing where you're going, like the George Harrison song, if you don't know where you're going, anywhere it will take you there. It's really helpful to have a focus and to know kind of what that momentum is going to be. The idea of collaboration, you know, that's one thing that grief teaches you. You really can't do it alone. And for somebody who has a very hard time receiving, you know, and allowing people to get in, that's a problem. So it can kind of, it's a little bit like, I once worked out with a trainer. I used to run marathons. He told me I was unqualified to run a marathon. And what he meant by that was that I was super strong in some areas, but super weak in other areas. And that's how injury happens, when, you know, the strong muscles can only overcompensate for so long. So he really focused on like strengthening my weak areas, so I was more in balance. And when I realized kind of the 6 components of resilience, like tenacity is what most people think of, and a lot of people have that, but they may not have the ability to collaborate, or, you know, the emotions. It's really, really hard. Our society doesn't do a great job of helping us kind of move through emotions. So we tend to stuff them. You know, we suppress our anger, we suppress our sadness, we suppress our fear. And it's not like it goes away. It just kind of follows along with us and builds up until it becomes problematic. So if you, you know, if you ever open a soda can, you know, if you open it too quickly, it can explode. all over the place. So you kind of gently let out, the steam and ultimately open it. There are strategies for resilience. Gratitude is a great strategy because it kind of shifts you out of anger. Meditation, tapping, which is kind of a way to release energy on certain points, essential oils, breathing strategies. It's like an all-you-can-eat menu. You go to, I don't know, Cheesecake Factory or something, and the menu could be a novel, but there's an option for everyone, and you don't need to order everything on the menu. You just pick the one thing that you're like, oh, maybe I could do that. I'll try that. I'll integrate that into my life and see where it goes. And that's what I'm hoping for. If there's just one thing that you either heard right now or that you pick up on the summit that you're like, that would be, I could do that. Or gosh, my daughter gets really anxious before starting energy, before races, before homework. But once she gets moving, she's really good. So this is a good thing, when she's anxious about getting started, I can do that. That's really what I'm hoping for, is that somehow tomorrow is easier than today because you learn something that helps you.
That's wonderfully said. And for the person who said that they can't get past the grief, once again, you don't want to try to get past the grief because it gets buried if you do that, and you find strategies that will help. As Jodi said, there's a whole smorgasbord to choose from in this roadmap of the resilience roadmap, this summit. So you might find one thing that just helps you today.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll help tomorrow, maybe not, or you might try something else. But the idea is that you're moving forward.
Yes.
When this attorney tried to scare Jodi into signing up with them, what did she do? She just went for a walk. That's all she grabbed her oil and she went for a walk because she couldn't think of doing anything else. Couldn't do anything. So just put one step in front of the other and do something that is part of the roadmap. Well, I don't have a roadmap. Then register for the summit so that you'll have a roadmap, right? And you'll be able to pick the things that resonate for you, whatever they are. And it's free. Of course, it's all free.
And it's my hope that whoever is things weigh heavy on your heart, and some days are good, some days are harder, but I really hope, please reach out to me. Let me know if there's anything that you kind of heard that maybe reframed things and made one day a little bit less. I've actually gone full days where I've been happy all day, and I didn't know that I'd be able to do that early on.
That's like a bumper sticker. I've actually gone a full day where I've been happy, and I never knew if I'd be able to do that again. And congratulations to you. And
thank you.
For those who can't tell, I'm sure you can from Jodi's words, is that it's not all history. I mean, she's living this every day, and this will be a part of life, right?
Well, it's the missed milestones, all his friends are going to homecoming, and I'm like, oh, it would have been fun to see, would he have had a date, just phantom limb pain, things I never get to live through.
Yeah, I get it. Dwin says, thank you both very much. Ray says, register for the summit with 3 exclamation points.
Oh, thanks, Ray.
Yes. Let's see. Okay, we'll just keep moving forward. So what stands out for you that you learned in these interviews that you just didn't know? What's the first thing that pops up for you?
I think how prevalent resilience is, and basically how it's not necessarily reactive. It's a little bit like learning to swim before you're drowning. It would have been helpful. I'm grateful that I knew certain things about the oils. And then there were certain things that I learned along the way that I was like, God, I wish I knew this a couple months ago, it would have been a lot more, this could have been easier.
Well, that's a real pearl for people, just to have exposure now.
Yeah.
David Perlmutter has a quote that he reads from the Yellow Emperor's Classic. And it goes something to the effect of, oh my gosh, where does it start? trying to get healthy after you're sick. That's not how, that's not the exact words, but that's the point. Trying to get healthy after you're sick is like digging a well when you're thirsty or forging a weapon after the war has begun.
Yeah.
Right. And so what you're looking at in the Resilience Roadmap Summit is a lot of tools that we'll all be able to use for the rest of our lives. I'm going to, after we're off the air, I'm going to say, hey, Jodi, send me a bottle of the parasympathetic. I've
Oh,
never
yes.
used any of those oils myself. Marzi uses them on occasion, but I want to try that. I want to see what that's like.
It's really interesting. Like people, the parasympathetic nervous system turns on the digestive cascade. So people who suffer from constipation are like, oh my God, my stomach is gurgling. Like, wow, it's really quick. It's a very immediate experience.
So the vagus nerve, for those that don't know, is a primary highway from the brain to the gut and everything in between.
Exactly.
So then there's been so much emphasis on the vagus nerve in the last 10 years or so. It was in 2010 that a paper was published about preclinical Parkinson's. What is Parkinson's before there are symptoms? They're preclinical.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
heard of
Before the
like that.
iceberg comes, the ice below the surface before it becomes an iceberg.
And what they talked about was that it's the microbiota, the bacteria in your gut.
Yeah.
When you have too much of the wrong bacteria, they make these metabolites, this exhaust of the bacteria.
Yes.
36% of all of the small molecules in your bloodstream are the exhaust of the bacteria from your gut. 36% of everything in your blood.
And Kieran Krishnan, actually, his talk is amazing because he really talks about gut and mood and all of that. He goes into great detail about, what does he call them, opportunistic pathogens, and how when you're stressed, it sends a signal. And the pathogens, to your point about when you're stressed, it turns off your immune system, that they're suddenly like, ooh, they're weak. We can like go a little crazy, have a party.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so this article back in 2010, it talked about another pathway besides the metabolites, the exhaust from the bacteria in the gut. It talked about the bacteria in the gut transform the proteins in your gut. They misfold the proteins. It's called alpha-synuclein. That's the protein. And it gets twisted and it goes right through the wall of the gut into the mucosa, into the lining of the gut. And it goes right back to the nerves. And it creeps neuron by neuron up the vagus nerve to the brain. And that the vagus nerve is a highway. And the misfolded alpha-synuclein has a magnetic pull into the area of the brain where motor function control is. And that's a strong contributor to Parkinson's.
Yeah.
So we learned that back in 2010, that the vagus nerve is a highway. And it's carrying messages, mostly good messages, but depending on lifestyle and your microbiome, sometimes bad messages. And so the idea of learning more about the vagus nerve for everyone can be so useful. And there's a question here from Julie. What are good exercises for the vagus nerve?
Oh, there are so many. I mean, laughter, honestly, because so the whole idea is the vagus nerve is the highway. It starts at the base of the neck, winds around, is most accessible here, then winds through the mouth, the throat, the heart, the lungs. So box breathing, breathing in for a count of 4, holding for a count of 4, exhaling longer. So for a count of 8, and then pausing for 4. Gargling works really well. Laughter, gagging yourself with a tongue depressor can do it. Literally anything where you're moving your body. Yoga, one of the reasons that you feel so much better in Shavasana, all of the twisting and the turning, you're moving your body. Actually, the owner of my yoga studio, Leah Zachariah, is on the summit. She talks about how the vagus nerve, is at play during yoga. The best explanation I've ever heard. You can also do a coffee enema. There are not that many people that are like, oh yes, I'm on it. But there are lots of options.
Yes, you bet. And for people's brains that said gagging, you want me to gag? Well,
I know.
yeah, it's very helpful because as you start that, you're working those muscles in a way they've not been worked before. And so the nerve communication with the muscles starts to make both of them more expressive to each other, more communicative. Singing in the shower is another one.
Great
That
one.
humming in the shower, la 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 la, whatever. I'm not a singer, but sometimes I'll sing in the shower.
I see a question. What spots can we apply the oils? I actually have, I don't know if you can see it, a graphic in the book. The bottom of the feet, they're all acupressure points. So anywhere, it's in the book and we might have it on Vibrant Blue Oil's site, but there you go.
Nice, very nice. Lynn says, Jodi, are there other spots we can apply so that's what you were answering?
Yeah, I saw that.
Uh-huh. Amal asks, are your oils sourced for heavy metals? Heard someone from IFM comment that sometimes it's better to avoid essential oils due to toxic metal contamination.
You know what that is? So it's really interesting. It would be like if there's metals in the soil. So we do test for that because Evan Brand, who also gives a great talk, kind of turned me on to that. But it really, we don't buy any of our oils from China. We get most of them from small farms where they're meticulously careful about that. But to answer your question, yes, we test.
Yes, great, great. Brandy says, gently gag yourself with your toothbrush each morning. You will feel the tingling sensation all through your body.
Or you can even turn on, like at the end of your shower, make it freezing for as long as you can tolerate it. That does it. Because what you don't realize is when it's cold, then the blood has to rush in to warm it up.
Yeah. Here's an exercise that I began giving back when we opened our practice in 1980 with the shower. It's called hot, cold, hot. So most people are in a state of sympathetic depletion. They've worn out their sympathetic nervous system from years of being overstressed. And so when you want to rebuild your sympathetic nervous system, you're also rebuilding your adrenal glands. That your adrenal glands have to be depleted before you go into sympathetic depletion. They go hand in hand. One of the ways to rebuild the adrenal glands, it's one cell at a time, you can't all of a sudden. Young men who unfortunately die of trauma, their adrenal glands are the size of a walnut. Young men of the same age who unfortunately die of disease like cancer or something, their adrenal glands are the size of a peanut. The glands shrivel when they're worn out. That's part of the sympathetic depletion that occurs. So to rebuild the adrenal glands, we've talked about this now for over 40 years. Oh, that's embarrassing to say, 40 years. But you're in the shower, so you take your supplements, well, whatever it is you're taking. You're in the shower, hot water on your kidneys, on the lower part, mid-lower part of your back, just hot water there. Then reach around all the way behind, turn it all the way to cold for 5 seconds and breathe. So don't tighten up your body, just breathe as best you can for 5 seconds and then turn it back to hot. Hot, cold, hot. Start with hot, end with hot. Hot brings blood flow into the area, cold shuts it down, hot brings blood flow back in again. So you're pumping blood flow into those adrenal glands. And if you have supplements in your bloodstream because you've taken your supplements a while ago or last night you took your supplements so they're in your bloodstream, then you get more nutrients to rebuild those tissues that you're trying to build one cell at a time. Sorry, Anderson Bourret says, I live in Hawaii and the water never gets cold. I know, I live in Costa Rica. It never gets cold here either. Will it still work if the water isn't super cold, or do I need to put ice cubes in a bath and hop in that? What if I submerge my feet in ice water? All good questions. I'll take that to the level of the cold therapy that Dave Asprey was talking about. There is a fellow who pioneered this work, carrying it out in the world. His name is Wim Hof. And Wim Hof's premise is that if you breathe deeply, the way Jodi was talking about breathing, really center yourself for about 5 minutes, and then you sit down in an ice bath. But you can focus on your breathing, and you focus on your breathing. You may stay there 30 seconds. You may stay in there a couple of minutes. It doesn't matter how long you stay in there. The key is that you keep yourself as calm as you can while you're in the water, breathing, and then you get out. And as you do that on a regular basis, 2 or 3 times a week is ideal, but once a week, once every 2 weeks, whenever you can, what happens over the months is that every cell in your body rejuvenates as a stronger cell. Your blood vessel walls are stronger. Your lymphatic walls and the muscles of the lymphatics that are pumping the lymph to detox your body are stronger and functioning better. When you do this concept of cold therapy in a smart way, over time, I've never seen anything, absolutely nothing, that is more profound at changing the physiology of one's body to a more resilient, rejuvenated body than this. I've never seen, I've seen some people who I know really well, and as they've gone through this protocol for a year or two, and I see them, holy cow, well, what about your high blood? Oh, it's gone. High blood pressure is gone. Cholesterol, gone. High cholesterol, gone. And they're off their meds with their doctor's permission because they immerse themselves in that. So, and there's different levels of putting your toe in the water, you know, so the hot, cold, hot in the shower is a great way to start that.
Yeah.
Jodi, do you want to add to that? Anything you'd like to add to that concept of cold?
No, I'm just jealous that he gets to live in Hawaii. I mean, I think that's an awesome place to live, you know, and that kind of gets back to the point, like there's no one size fits all. So even living in Hawaii, you have access to, you know, sunlight so much more than the rest of us. So just really taking advantage of that. There are, all roads lead to Rome. There are many ways to activate your vagus nerve.
Right. And if you're in Hawaii, just like I'm here in Costa Rica, one of the dangers you have is that your shower heads have biofilms now. There's absolutely no question. You got biofilms. What's a biofilm? It's like a polymer, like a plastic that's made by bad bacteria in the water, pathogenic bacteria in the water. You turn the shower off and there's water that comes up the pipe and it's sitting on the other inside the shower head. And the bacteria starts to form this force field, if you will, this polymer. It's called a biofilm. And then it protects the bacteria, so they colonize and they start making more bacteria. Just Google shower heads in Hawaii and bacteria, and you read these studies and you go, oh my God, I had no idea. So anyone that's got sinus problems, ear infections, eye problems, asthma, bronchitis, pneumonia, any of that kind of stuff, you have to change out your shower head. Get a new shower head, and then you have to clean them every 3 months. And we've got handouts on our website of how to clean shower heads, but it's a hidden source of a lot of contaminant bacteria that most people don't know about. A little off topic, but when you said Hawaii, sorry, I had to.
No, super valid. And that's low hanging fruit. If you can just clean it every 3 months, you're golden.
You bet, you bet. Let's see there, and someone says, who's it? Oh, sorry, says, will there be a replay of this wonderful talk? I missed the beginning. Yes, of course. It's on Facebook at theDr.com. Well, we're at the hour. Oh my goodness. Once again, it just goes boom like this. It just flies by. So everyone, please register for this event. Let's, and if you watch one interview, Jodi, how many days is this going for?
It goes for 7 days, and all the speakers are free those days. And then there's replay weekend, which I think is November 6th and 7th, and you can watch all of the talks.
Great, great. So if you watch one talk, what it's doing is it's acknowledging all the work this woman is doing to carry this message out to the world. So it's your way of paying it forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Register for this talk, for this summit, and watch one talk. Pick one and just watch it. And we need more people like Jodi who are giving their heart and soul because they found a healing path in this. This is not a profit venture for Jodi. This is her heart singing, and this is her heart song. And I am honored to support this and to be a part of it. And I hope you all can think the same way. When you register for this event and you watch one and you send her a message, say, oh my God, I can't watch it all, but that was wonderful. You send her a message like that and she'll get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages. And can you imagine, you see the smile on her face when I said that? Can you imagine if you take the time to just send her a message of what happened for you, listening to one of these interviews, just that it gave you a little lift, it'll make her day. It'll make her day. And I promise you, somebody will pay it forward for you in the future too.
Well, you know how when people lose a child, they feel like they have to rally around the cause, and my cause is really paying it forward, and finding a way to use this experience to maybe make things easier for other people.
Yeah, amen.
You know, like when you're walking down from the hike and people are like, "Oh, how much further?" And you're like, "Well, only a mile, but this one part's a little tricky, so be careful." You know, you're just warning them.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for that. Thank you, Jodi.
Thank
All right,
you.
everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.